Hey there, and welcome to Hot Tea and Storytime. I'm thrilled to have you here. If you're new to the channel, here's what we're all about. Pour yourself a story, one cup at a time. This is the place where you can sit back, sip on something warm, and let the world of storytelling sweep you away. Whether you're here for a quick escape or a cozy night in, you're in for a treat. If you enjoyed today's story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. That way, you'll always be in the loop for new stories. Plus, it helps us keep this storytelling community growing. So, pour yourself a cup, settle in, and let's dive into today's story. I think you're going to love it. After losing his wife and young son in a tragic accident caused by a drunk driver, William Carter, a successful businessman, is left with a permanent limp and a heart weighed down by grief. Years later, his life takes an unexpected turn when he travels to a small town and encounters a boy who reminds him intensely of his late son. As William delves into the child's background, he finds himself drawn into a world where he not only learns to confront his sorrow, but also discovers new hope in places he least expected. Act 1. Fractured Life. William Carter once lived a life wrapped in quiet happiness. His wife, Claire, brought warmth to every room she entered. And their son, Leo, was the light of his life, a boy whose laughter rang like a bell and filled their home with joy. A successful businessman, William had always been driven, focused on building a legacy for his family. But in a single, brutal instant, his entire world was ripped away. It happened on a rainy night, the kind where the roads gleam with danger. They were coming back from a family dinner, one of Leo's favorites, when a car swerved violently into their lane. The driver, later found to be drunk, careened into them with a force that shattered glass and tore metal. William awoke in a hospital bed days later to the searing pain of his injuries and the shattering news that Claire and Leo had not survived. William's recovery was grueling, his left leg forever damaged, leaving him with a limp that served as a constant reminder of that night. But nothing could compare to the ache in his heart. He couldn't bear the silence that filled his house, the empty spaces that once held laughter, love, and dreams. Seeking a way to channel his grief, he began to speak out against drunk driving, scaling down his business, and dedicating himself to advocacy. At schools, community centers, and public events, he shared his story, hoping to prevent others from suffering the same fate. Yet even as he found purpose, his heart remained locked in the past, filled with memories of a life that could never be again. Act 2. An Unexpected Encounter. Several years later, William's life took him to a small town called Willow Creek. The air was crisp with the sense of autumn as he arrived for a business meeting, intending to discuss a partnership with a local craftsman. William kept his visits brief these days, preferring to avoid reminders of families and lives unbroken by tragedy. But as he strolled through the town square, a scene caught his eye. A small boy playing near a fountain, splashing the water with a joyful abandon. William's heart lurched painfully. The boy's tousled hair, the gap-toothed grin, the way he hopped on one foot then the other, laughing. A vivid memory flashed before him of Leo, playing the exact same way. The resemblance was uncanny, enough to send a chill through him. The boy looked up for a moment, and in his sparkling eyes, William felt a flicker of familiarity that left him breathless. Shaken, William retreated to a nearby cafe, trying to dismiss the resemblance as nothing more than his mind playing tricks on him. But curiosity gnawed at him, a strange compulsion to learn more about this boy and his family. He inquired gently, subtly, and soon learned that the boy's name was Tommy. The boy was being raised by a single mother, Emma Collins, who, as fate would have it, had also lost her husband to a drunk driving accident. The tragic similarity drew him in deeper, and he found himself unable to let it go. Act 3. Searching for connections. Driven by a need he couldn't fully understand, William arranged a meeting with Emma under the pretense of business. When they met, he was struck by her presence, a quiet strength tempered by an unmistakable sadness. She was warm, kind, but there was a guardedness in her eyes that he recognized immediately, a shield forged by grief. As they spoke about potential business ventures, he subtly learned more about her life, the challenges she'd faced raising Tommy on her own after losing her husband in an accident eerily similar to his own loss. Their conversation grew over time. William couldn't stop himself from returning to Willow Creek, each visit drawing him deeper into a world that was healing in ways he hadn't expected. Tommy, with his boundless curiosity, grew attached to William, and in his presence, William felt echoes of fatherhood that he had long thought lost to him. He caught himself laughing again, feeling a strange warmth as he watched Tommy's antics. And in moments alone with Emma, he felt something shift, a flicker of understanding, of kinship, perhaps even of hope. Emma, too, began to notice William's kindness, his patient attention to her son, and the sorrow that lingered beneath his smile. She admired his advocacy against drunk driving, recognizing a familiar drive in him. Yet she could see he hadn't fully healed, that he was holding on to something that kept him from moving forward. And in her own quiet way, she resolved to help him find peace. Act 4. The Heart's Recognition. One chilly evening, William took Tommy to the town's modest museum, giving Emma time to complete a project. As they wandered through displays of old tools, fossils, and train models, Tommy peppered him with questions, his face alight with wonder. William couldn't help but smile, answering each question with a patience he hadn't known he possessed. For a fleeting moment, he allowed himself to imagine life as it could have been if Leo were still here, if he still had a family. But guilt gnawed at him, dark and insidious, reminding him of the past he'd left behind. How could he let himself feel joy again? How could he accept the happiness Tommy brought him without betraying Claire and Leo? That night, as they parted ways with a wave, William lingered, watching as Emma and Tommy walked home, laughter echoing in the night. He ached for the life he could never have, yet he couldn't deny the stirrings of something new within him. A few days later, he confided in Emma, sharing the story of his family's loss, the loneliness he still felt, the lingering ache he could never escape. Emma listened, her eyes reflecting a compassion that soothed the raw edges of his heart. She shared her own struggles of raising Tommy alone, her fears of failing as a mother, and the loneliness she felt despite the love she poured into her son. Together, they found comfort in shared sorrow, a balm that eased their pain, even if only for a moment. Act 5. Confronting the past and embracing the present. William returned to Willow Creek with a renewed purpose. He couldn't change the past, but he could honor his family by opening his heart to the future. With Emma and Tommy, he found himself laughing again, the weight of his grief lifting little by little. He helped Emma with her craft business, offered guidance, and slowly, the bond between them deepened into something tender, a warmth neither had felt in years. Yet he felt torn, still bound by memories of Claire and Leo, Emma noticed the conflict in his eyes and gently encouraged him to let go, to allow himself to feel joy again. She reassured him that love wasn't a betrayal of the past, but a way to honor it. Her words echoed in his heart, slowly easing the guilt that had held him captive. Act 6, A New Beginning. In time, William made the decision to move closer to Willow Creek. He scaled down his business, shifting his focus to community efforts and family. Together with Emma, they opened a community center where he could continue his advocacy work, speaking against drunk driving and providing support for single parents and those affected by tragic losses. One evening, as they watched Tommy play with friends, William and Emma shared a quiet moment. Their hands brushed, a touch filled with unspoken promises, and for the first time, William felt at peace. He knew that while he would never forget Claire and Leo, he had found new meaning in life, a second chance at family, at love, and at hope. And that's it for today's story. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. There's nothing quite like getting lost in a good tale, right? Thank you so much for joining me here on Hot Tea and Storytime. If you liked today's story, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. This way, you'll be the first to know whenever there's a new story brewing, and you'll help our storytelling community grow. I'd love to see you back here for the next one, so make sure to pour yourself a cup, get comfortable, and join me for another story soon. Until next time, take care and happy listening.